This problem number 19, we're going to take the square root of negative 216. So we've got the square root of negative. We know the first thing to do is take the I out, and then we'll deal with the square root of 216. And maybe you remember seeing this number from one of the previous sections on radicals. But this number here, we can write as 36 times 6, giving us I square root of 36 and 6. And this will give us I times 6, square root of 6. But I'm going to write this 6 over here, getting 6I square root of 6. And back here, the reason I chose that 36 and 6 is because I know the square root of 36. So remember what we're going to do here. We're going to break this number into two numbers, one of which we know the square root. To make this multiplication here in number 21, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the i's out of here. We're going to write this as I square root of 7 times I square root of 5. I times I will give us the I squared. And now we can do this one here, square root of 5, square root of 7. And this will result in I squared, which is negative 1, right? So we get a negative 1 from here, and this is the square root of 35. So we'll get negative square root of negative 1 times square root of 35, which is negative square root of 35. Now, of course, I squared, we could have just written right down here, but I went through every step. And now up here in number 23, let's take the I out. We'll get I square root of 49 times I square root of 81. We happen to know these. This is going to be 7I. And this one over here, 9I. 9 times 7 is 63I squared. But I squared is negative 1. And you know, from here on out, here's how I think of this one. I see I squared. I squared is negative 1. And when you multiply any number by negative 1, it changes that number's sign. So right from here, I'm going to go to this step where I just write negative 63. We know what I squared is. I squared is negative 1. We don't need to write that anymore. We know what we're going to do here. I squared, negative 1, multiply negative 1 to any number, it changes the sign of that number. So just from here, just change the sign of that 63. Okay, in number 27, we've got kind of a big number here. We've seen it before in a couple sections ago when we work on radicals, but you may not remember it. So what you might have to think of is what squares do you know will go into 405? So you can try them. You can try 3 squared, which is 9. Actually, that will work. But what I want is the biggest square that will go in there. So I try 4 squared, which is 16. That doesn't work. 5 squared, 25. That doesn't work. 6 squared is 36. That doesn't work. 7 squared is 49. That doesn't work. 8 squared is 64. That does not divide evenly into 405. But when I get to 9 squared, that's 81. And it does go in evenly 5 times. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the I out of each one of these. I'll get I square root of 405. I. Well, this one we happen to know, right? That's a 9. So we're going to get I. This turns out to be 81 times 5 over 9I. And now the square root of 81 up here on top, I know that's 9. So I can write 9I with the square root of 5. I've got that 9I in the denominator. That 9I and 9I will divide out, cancel. So we are left with square root of 5.